We needed it more than you. That was what my brother-in-law said, lounging on the couch with a drink in his hand like he was starring in his own movie, while the rest of the room pretended not to hear him. My hands were still cold from the lake water when I opened my banking app, just to clear a few vendor payments for my boutique. I expected to see the same number I had carefully watched grow over the last 5 years. Instead, I watched every dollar drain away in a single refresh. Available balance, 0.00. 5 years of saving. 5 years of saying no to myself. 5 years of discipline. Gone. I felt the blood drain from my face. The room around me, the laughter, the clink of glasses, the smell of coffee and wood and lake air, all faded into this soft dull hum. I lifted my eyes. He was already looking at me. Kyle. Glass raised. Smile sharp. Almost amused. They thought I would fall apart right there in the lakehouse living room. Cry, scream, beg, make a scene. But I didn't break in that moment. That was the moment I woke up. My name is Madison, and for most of my life I thought family was something solid. Something you could lean against without wondering if it would give out under you. I grew up in Portland in a small, worn house that always smelled like sawdust and Sunday coffee. My parents ran a little hardware store on the edge of the city, the kind of place where regulars stopped by just to chat, even if they only needed a single screw or a roll of tape. They raised me on simple rules: work hard, keep your word, and never take more than you've earned. My younger sister, Allison, lived like the world owed her interest. While I spent summers stocking shelves, balancing the old register, and helping my dad reorganize nails by size and label, Allison spent hers chasing parties and boys and late nights she never had to clean up after. My mom would sigh and say, "She's just young," like time itself would eventually parent her. My dad would smile that tired, soft smile and shrug it off. And me? I covered for her. I told myself she just needed time to grow up. That one day we would both stand on our own feet the same way. Time proved me wrong. Shortly after I turned 25, a drunk driver ran a red light and took both my parents in one instant. There is no gentle way to describe that. One minute I had 2 people I thought would always be there, and the next I had a funeral, a stack of documents, and a house that suddenly felt hollow. A few days later, Allison and I sat in a lawyer's office that smelled like paper and old coffee, staring at a folder while he explained the estate. A modest house. The store. A small savings account. Nothing fancy, nothing dramatic. Just the quiet result of 2 people working their whole lives. When everything was divided, Allison and I each received a share. I put mine into the boutique I had been planning for years, a little clothing and home goods shop that blended our parents' work ethic with my love for design. Allison put hers into Kyle. He arrived in our lives like a storm with perfect hair. Loud, charming, too slick if you looked closely. The kind of man who talked fast, laughed hard, and carried himself like he deserved every room he walked into. Within months they were married. Within a year, Allison didn't look like Allison anymore. She got quieter. Softer in a way that looked more like erasing than growing. She checked his expression before she answered questions. She moved a little too quickly when he snapped her name. I asked her gently, once, if she was okay. "He just wants what's best for us," she said. But her eyes didn't match the words. When Uncle Robert suggested a lakehouse reunion, he sold it as a reset. Fresh air, family time, good food, he'd said. We all need it. I believed him. I wanted to believe him. I loaded my car with groceries, folded sweaters into a duffel, packed my laptop so I could keep an eye on boutique payments, and drove out with that small, hopeful feeling you get when you want things to finally be better. The lake was beautiful. Sunlight bounced off the surface like it was trying to bless us. When I stepped onto the dock, the breeze smelled like pine and clean water. Emma, our cousin, hugged me first. She leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Just prepare yourself." I didn't like the way she said it. Inside, I tried to slot myself into the illusion of normal. I smiled. I helped in the kitchen. I asked about everyone's jobs. But Kyle's laugh cut across every room, too loud, too performative. Every time Allison looked at me, there was something behind her eyes. Something like a secret she wanted to drop, then kept swallowing. The air felt wrong, like the pressure that builds before a storm finally breaks. The first sign that something wasn't right came quietly. My laptop was on the dresser in the guest room, exactly where I'd left it when I went downstairs to help Emma chop vegetables. When I came back up, it was still there, but the angle was different. The screen was tilted open a little more. The charger plugged into a port I never used. A tiny difference. Inches. But it hit me right between the shoulder blades. Someone had touched it. Someone had opened it. I ran my hand over the keyboard. Still faintly warm. I checked the browser history. It looked too clean. Not just normal refreshes. Wiped. A cold prickle slid up my back. I told myself I was being paranoid. Long week. Tired brain. Too many crime documentaries. I shut the laptop and forced myself to go back downstairs, back into the noise, the card games, the music. That night, while everyone was in the living room laughing over a card game, I pulled out my phone to approve a routine vendor payment. It failed. Payment declined. I frowned. Tried again. Same thing. Annoying, but not terrifying. Payment systems glitch sometimes. Banks pause transactions. I made a note to check it in the morning. Morning came with a phone call that felt like a slap. It was Claire, my business partner. Her voice was clipped and tight. Madison, the vendor payment bounced again, she said. And your account is showing insufficient funds. My stomach dropped straight through the mattress. That's impossible, I said, even though something in me already knew it wasn't. I opened my banking app with shaking hands. The loading wheel spun for too long, like it was bracing me. Then the numbers appeared. There were no numbers. Just zero. No savings. No cushion. No runway. 5 years of early mornings, late nights, saying no to vacations and new clothes and anything extra. Gone. Not pending. Not held. Not a glitch. Gone. I walked into the kitchen like I was underwater. The coffee smell, the sound of plates, the murmured conversation, it all felt muffled and distant. My money is gone, I said. Everything stopped. Uncle Robert stood so quickly his chair scraped. What do you mean, gone? He asked. I held up my phone, my voice thin but steady. Transferred out overnight. All of it. Gasps. Whispers. The kind of low family panic everyone pretends to control. Emma rushed over to look at the screen. Did you call the bank? I did, I said. They said the password and security questions were entered correctly. From a recognized device. A chill moved through the room. Only 2 people didn't move. Allison, staring into her coffee mug like it might swallow her whole. And Kyle, leaning back in his chair, arms crossed, expression flat, almost bored. My eyes stayed on him. You were near my laptop yesterday, I said quietly. Did you go into my room? Allison's head jerked up. Are you accusing my husband? Kyle let out a short laugh. Maybe your little business partner messed up. Or maybe you just don't know how money works. His tone wasn't confused. It was cruel. Show us your bank statements, I said. If everything's fine for you, that should be easy. His smirk twitched. I don't owe you proof, he shot back. Funny, I said. If you weren't involved, you'd be the loudest one here demanding answers. Allison's hands shook around her mug. She still wouldn't look at me. Then Kyle leaned forward, voice suddenly colder. We needed it more than you. The room erupted. People talking over each other, someone saying his name in shock, someone else swearing. But all of that faded around the edges. I didn't feel myself panic. I didn't feel myself crumble. I felt something inside me harden. Click into place. Sharpen. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a decision. And it was the exact moment I stopped being afraid of him. I don't remember the exact moment my body sat down. 1 second I was standing in the kitchen, Kyle's words echoing in my head like a taunt, and the next I felt my legs give just enough that the chair caught me before the floor did. My palms were cold. My throat was drier than sand. My heartbeat felt too fast, like it wanted to outrun everything happening around me. But my mind was silent in the clearest way I'd ever felt. Shock doesn't always flatten you. Sometimes it strips away every comforting lie until only the truth is left standing. Allison whispered something, her voice thin and shaking, but I couldn't hear her through the ringing in my ears. My vision tunneled, centering on Kyle as he leaned back like he had delivered some brilliant punchline. That confidence, that smug calm like he'd beaten me at a game I didn't know I was playing, didn't devastate me. It activated me. I reached for my bag slowly, each movement steady, deliberate. The leather felt cool under my fingertips, grounding. When I lifted it, Kyle's eyes flicked to the motion. Just a tiny shift, but enough. I'm going to grab my bag, I said quietly. He smirked. And then what? Cry on the deck. Call the bank again. His tone was almost mocking, like he expected the old version of me to reappear, the girl who apologized for taking up space, who backed down when someone raised their voice. But that girl had dissolved the moment I saw my balance hit zero. I zipped the bag closed. Then you won't mind what's coming next, I said. The room froze. Even the hum of the refrigerator suddenly sounded loud. Kyle pushed off the couch so aggressively the legs screeched across the old hardwood floor. You're not calling anyone, he snapped, stepping toward me. He didn't make it 2 steps. Uncle Robert moved between us with the kind of calm authority that comes from years of breaking up family fights. Back off, he said, voice low but final. Kyle let out a scoff. Relax. She's being dramatic. The money's gone. Done. Buried. She's not getting it back. He said it like he was proud. The look he gave me wasn't the look of a man bluffing. It was the look of a man who had gotten away with things before. Who expected to get away with this too. Allison finally stood up, her voice cracking. Kyle, please. He didn't even look at her. He grabbed her wrist like she was an object he was tired of holding and yanked her close. A practiced motion. Too fast. Too casual. Too familiar. My stomach twisted. I stepped forward. Allison, I said softly, what's really going on? Her eyes darted to mine, haunted, pleading, trapped. She opened her mouth. Kyle's grip tightened. We're leaving, he barked. Get your stuff. No one's going anywhere, I said, my voice steady in a way that felt almost foreign to me. Not until I get every cent back, or until the police get here. Kyle barked out a laugh. The police? For what? Go ahead. Tell them you lost some money. What are they going to do? Pat your head? He thought this was still his moment. He thought he still held control. He didn't know that his mistake was already recorded. Because 6 months earlier, after a hacking attempt on my boutique's network, I had quietly installed a security program on my laptop. A program that photographed anyone trying to access my files, logged keystrokes, captured device IDs, timestamped every attempt, and if someone had opened my laptop in the night. The evidence was already saved. Already archived. Already waiting. I pulled my phone from my bag. Kyle lunged. Uncle Robert shoved him back. Hard. You won't mind what's coming next, I repeated, stronger this time. Then I made the call. The dispatcher picked up on the first ring. I gave my name, the address of the lake house, and said 7 words I never thought I'd hear coming out of my own mouth. Ongoing financial fraud at this location. Kyle laughed loudly, waving a hand like I just performed a joke. You're unbelievable. Call whoever you want. Maybe they'll care next week. But something shifted in the room. In the air. A current, small but unmistakable. Maybe he felt it too, because for the first time since this started, his smirk faltered. Not enough for anyone else to see. But enough for me. I ended the call and placed my phone back in my bag. Now, I said, we wait. Kyle whirled on Allison. Pack your things. She didn't move. Her fingers curled into her sweater, knuckles white. Allison, I said gently, just tell the truth. Her eyes darted between us. Between my steady calm and Kyle's unraveling control. She opened her mouth. Kyle grabbed her arm. Don't say a word, he growled. Emma stepped forward. Let her talk. Kyle turned sharply. Stay out of this. But for the first time since I had arrived at the lake house. It wasn't me he should have feared. It was Allison. She yanked her arm out of his grip, her voice shaking but clear enough to cut the room in half. I'm tired, Kyle, she said. I'm tired of lying for you. The room fell so silent I swear I heard my own heartbeat. Aunt Patricia gasped. Uncle Robert's jaw tightened. Kyle stared at Allison like she had betrayed some secret code. Then his face exploded with anger. You stupid, he never finished. Because a sound cut him off. A sound so loud it shook the windows. A violent bang on the front door. Someone screamed. Emma whispered, "What was that?" But deep down, I already knew. Something heavy slammed again. Then the door flew open with a blast of cold morning air. Heavy footsteps shook the hallway. "Portland Police," a voice shouted. "Nobody move." Kyle's bravado evaporated. His face went dead white. 3 uniformed officers stepped into the living room, followed by a woman in plain clothes, her badge clipped to her belt. Detective Harmon. She held a folder in her hand. "Florence," she said. I stepped forward. "That's me." She nodded sharply. "Your bank's cyber team flagged suspicious transfers. We traced multiple login attempts from this location." Kyle immediately started babbling. This is a misunderstanding. Someone hacked us." "Someone?" Detective Harmon raised one eyebrow. "Interesting," she said. "Because the login attempts came from a recognized device." Uncle Robert's eyes flicked toward my room. My eyes stayed on Kyle. His throat bobbed. "A lot of people could've borrowed her laptop," he stammered. "Good," I said quietly. "Then you won't mind what's in here." I handed Detective Harmon my phone. She opened the folder. And scrolled. Photo after photo. Kyle. Sitting at my laptop. Typing. Focused. Time-stamped. Identified. Captured. Every keystroke. Every click. Every login attempt. Detective Harmon's voice changed, colder than the lake water outside. "Mr. Henderson," she said. "Turn around. Hands behind your back." Kyle stumbled backward. No, wait." 2 officers grabbed him. He thrashed. "Allison. Tell them I didn't." But Allison stepped toward me instead, tears running, her voice soft but strong. "You did it," she whispered. "You know you did." Kyle stared at her like his world had just cracked. Detective Harmon cut him off. "Enough." They cuffed him. His wedding band clicked against the metal. He screamed at Allison. "You think you're anything without me? You're nothing." She stepped closer, trembling. But steady. "I was nothing with you," she said. Kyle's face twisted, and for the first time since I met him. He looked afraid. As they dragged him outside, he shouted my name like a curse. "Florence. This isn't over." But it was. It had been over the moment he touched my laptop. When the front door slammed shut behind the officers, the entire lake house felt upside down, like someone had lifted the roof and let all the noise drain out. I didn't realize I was holding my breath until I finally let it out in one long, shaky exhale. Silence filled the room, but it wasn't peaceful. It was the kind that comes after an earthquake, when everyone is still waiting to see what else might fall. Aunt Patricia wiped her tears with trembling hands. Uncle Robert pressed his palms against the table like he needed something solid to stay upright. Emma squeezed my arm gently, grounding me in the moment. But the person who broke that silence was Allison. She collapsed into my arms, not in weakness, but in release. Years of fear, tension, and small humiliation seemed to melt off her shoulders all at once. Her voice cracked against my shoulder. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I should have told you. I should have left him. Her breath shook. I didn't know how." I held her tight. "You're safe now. That's what matters." She nodded against my shoulder, and for the first time in years, I felt like I had my sister back. Not the distant, nervous version Kyle molded, but the girl who used to braid my hair, laugh at midnight with me, steal Mom's cookies with me. The Allison before him. Detective Harmon stepped back into the living room after coordinating with her team outside. Her presence was steady, calm. The kind of calm that made you believe things could be fixed. "Florence," she said, "we'll be processing him at the station. Based on the evidence you provided, your bank should recover most of the funds. The remaining loss will likely be covered under fraud protection." My knees almost buckled with relief. "Thank you," I breathed. She nodded. "You did the right thing calling when you did. This kind of coordinated theft usually escalates." Kyle would have escalated. I knew that in my bones. Today wasn't the first time he crossed a line, just the first time he met a wall he couldn't charm, scare, or lie his way through. "He won't be able to access anyone's accounts," Detective Harmon added. "Or intimidate anyone for a long time." A long time. The words felt like sunlight. After she left, the lake house felt strange. As if a dark presence had finally been pulled out by the roots. We all just stood there for a moment, not sure how to step back into normal life. Emma touched my shoulder. Let's get some air. We stepped onto the porch. The lake shimmered in the afternoon sun, perfectly calm, almost too calm for everything that just happened. Allison followed a moment later and stood beside me, her arms wrapped around herself like she was still learning how to exist without someone gripping her. You saved me, she said quietly. No, I said. You saved yourself the moment you spoke up. Her eyes filled. I couldn't have done it without you. We didn't hug this time. We just stood side by side, letting the cold breeze wash over us. Letting the world feel new. Over the next week, everything moved faster than any of us expected. Detective Harmon called to confirm the bank was reversing most of the transfers. 5 years of savings. Saved. The boutique would survive. My future was no longer hanging by a thread. Allison made her own bold call to a friend who had a spare room. She filed for divorce, quietly but firmly. She collected her belongings with the help of Aunt Patricia, leaving behind everything Kyle had ever bought her. He never gave me anything I want to keep, she said. Every day, she grew steadier. She moved into my apartment temporarily, filling it with soft apologies and the smell of her late-night baking, a coping mechanism I didn't complain about. Sometimes she stood in the kitchen, staring at the oven timer like the silence in her life was too loud. Sometimes she cried without warning. Sometimes she laughed too hard at nothing at all, like her body was trying to find its balance again. Healing isn't pretty. But she was doing it. Finally. A few weekends later, the whole family returned to the lake house, not to pretend everything was fine, but to reclaim what had been taken. We repainted the porch railings. We fixed the windows Kyle had slammed during old fights. We opened every curtain to let the sunlight pour through. And for the first time in years, the lake house didn't feel haunted. It felt like ours again. One afternoon, I stood alone on the dock, the wood warm beneath my feet, watching the water ripple with small silver waves. The sunlight danced across the surface, soft and honest. Justice doesn't erase pain. But it clears enough space for healing to grow. A month after that, I stood inside my second boutique, my second one, sunlight spilling across new displays and plants I'd picked out myself. The space smelled like cedar and fresh paint. It felt like victory and peace blended into one. The money was back. The doors were open. And for the first time in a very long time, my life didn't feel like something fragile that someone else could take from me. Allison stopped by that afternoon with pastries and a soft smile. She wasn't healed yet. But she was moving toward a life that felt like hers. Looking back at the lake house, at Kyle, at everything that broke and everything that rebuilt, one truth stayed with me. Blood doesn't give anyone the right to hurt you. Boundaries do. If you've ever had to reclaim your peace from people who were supposed to protect it, tell me where you're listening from. Your story matters more than you think. And if mine stayed with you, hit subscribe so you don't miss what comes next.